Breaking news! After a gut-wrenching loss to the Buffalo Bills that left Ravens fans stunned and frustrated, Baltimore now finds itself standing at a crossroads. It's only week 2, but the intensity around this matchup against the Cleveland Browns feels like something much bigger than a regular early season contest. The Ravens are walking a tightrope, emotionally and strategically, and what happens this Sunday could set the tone for the entire season. But before we move on, make sure you hit that like button if you're a true Ravens fan. It's always amazing to see fans of all ages supporting this team. And if you feel like it, comment, "Go Ravens," down below. Let's get straight to it. This game against the Browns is not just a bounce-back opportunity. It's a gut check. Because while the numbers might say Baltimore is a 12.5-point favorite, this moment carries the weight of a must-win. The reason is simple. This isn't just about Cleveland. This is about what's waiting on the other side. After the Browns, it's the Lions under the national spotlight on Monday Night Football, then Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, followed by 2 more heavyweight bouts against the Texans and Rams. The road is brutal, the margin for error is razor thin, and you simply cannot drop games like this one. This game has to be different. Last year's painful letdown after the Week 1 loss to Kansas City, when the Ravens stumbled at home against the Raiders, cannot repeat itself. 11 penalties for 109 yards in that Raiders game? That's not Ravens football. And just like then, the script this year is eerily familiar. Crushing Week 1 loss, followed by a seemingly beatable opponent. But this time, Baltimore has to prove they've learned. Let's start with the obvious. The Ravens are a better team than the Browns, on paper, on the field, and on the depth chart. Outside of Myles Garrett, who might very well be the best pass rusher in the entire NFL, Cleveland simply doesn't match up. But that's not the issue. The issue is whether the Ravens will show up focused and clean, or if history repeats itself. And speaking of Garrett, the Ravens' offensive line has zero margin for error this week. Protecting Lamar Jackson is not just important, it's critical. Daniel Falale, Ronnie Stanley, Tyler Linderbaum, Roger Rosengarten, Andrew Voorhees, this is your moment. Last week's blocking breakdowns were flat out embarrassing. There's no sugarcoating it. Falale, in particular, looked completely lost at times, turned around, confused, out of place. That can't happen again, not with Garrett lining up ready to wreck your game plan. Cleveland feasted on Joe Burrow and the Bengals with stunts and pressure packages that confused even one of the league's most polished units. Garrett was lining up wide and then slicing straight through the middle. If that happens to Lamar, the outcome could be catastrophic. The good news? Lamar Jackson remains one of the NFL's best under pressure, but that doesn't mean you want to test that theory every other snap. Moving to the defense, it's time for this unit to start taking the ball away. You had chances against Buffalo. You didn't capitalize. Malachi Starks dropped a gimme. Chidobe Awuzie looked like he had a pick, but couldn't come down with it. And while Marcus Williams and Kyle Hamilton are no strangers to the highlight reel, they both missed golden opportunities last season against Cleveland. Those moments matter. Turnovers change games. Last week, Buffalo forced one, and that was a turning point. You didn't, and that was the difference. This Sunday, you'll face Joe Flacco. And no disrespect to the Ravens legend, but this isn't 2012 Joe. This is a quarterback who, even with all his veteran savvy, is turnover prone. He threw 2 picks against the Cincinnati defense that's a shadow of its former self. He's going to give Baltimore chances. The only question is, will the Ravens finally start cashing in on them? And then there are the boneheaded mistakes. The kind that make you throw your remote through the TV. Trenton Simpson diving into the end zone on a stop punt. Tyler Lue missing extra points. 9 penalties in a game you were supposed to dominate? These are the kinds of unforced errors that let bad teams hang around. And when you let bad teams hang around, you lose. This team needs to play like contenders. Not just for a quarter, not for 3 quarters, but from whistle to whistle. Baltimore hasn't finished well. That's the cold truth. Since 2021, they've lost 8 games where they held a 90% win probability. That's not bad luck. That's not bad bounces. That's bad execution, and it has to stop. There's no room for comfort in the NFL, and this Ravens team knows that better than anyone. Let's be honest, if they walk into M/NT Bank Stadium with anything less than full urgency, Cleveland will make them pay. That's what this matchup is really about. It's less about talent gaps or point spreads and more about mindset. Because if the Ravens play down to their competition like they've done in the past, they're going to find themselves in trouble again. Let's dig even deeper into the pressure cooker that is this week. This isn't just a game to win, it's a test of identity. The Ravens have to show the NFL and themselves that they've evolved beyond being the team that collapses in the 4th quarter. The team that lets go of games they had locked up. 8 blown leads since 2021? That's not just a stat, it's a pattern. And patterns don't go away on their own. You have to rip them out by the roots. The leadership in that locker room needs to speak up. Lamar Jackson? This is where his MVP caliber presence has to carry more than just his arm and legs. It has to carry the locker room. Veterans like Ronnie Stanley, Roquan Smith, and Mark Andrews, this is the kind of week where voices get louder, film sessions get longer, and execution has to be cleaner. There's no we'll fix it next week anymore. The next week after this one is a gauntlet that includes 2 playoff-level teams and a Rams squad that's always dangerous. Baltimore cannot afford to enter that stretch at 0-2. And then there's the emotional side of things. The fans, the media, the noise. This isn't just another game. It's a game happening in the eye of a storm. The disappointing loss to Buffalo stirred the pot, fans questioning play calling, execution, even conditioning. And while most of that noise is just that noise, it's the kind of storm that can shake a locker room if not dealt with head on. That's why this Sunday is pivotal. Not just because of what happens on the scoreboard, but because of what it will say about the character of this team. Now, let's talk about something that doesn't show up in the stat sheets. Confidence. This is the kind of game that builds or breaks it. If the Ravens go out there and dominate Cleveland the way they're capable of, they'll carry that fire into Detroit, Kansas City, and beyond. But if they struggle, if they scrape out an ugly win or, worse, fall apart late again, then all those questions that started after the Bills game, they're only going to get louder. Another key to watch is whether the Ravens offense can finally hit its stride early. The unit has had moments of brilliance, but consistency has been missing. That opening drive against the Bills looked sharp, but they couldn't maintain that rhythm. If Todd Monken's offense wants to be taken seriously as a top-tier unit, they need to string together scoring drives, convert in the red zone, and, critically, control the clock. Cleveland's best shot in this game is shortening it, keeping Lamar off the field, and letting their defense do the heavy lifting. Baltimore has to disrupt that plan early. On the other side of the ball, the Ravens secondary has to do something they failed to do against Buffalo, punish mistakes. You cannot let a quarterback like Joe Flacco throw 35 passes and walk away without a turnover. That just can't happen. The Ravens defense prides itself on being aggressive, on creating chaos. But that aggression has to turn into production. Picks, forced fumbles, field flipping plays. That's the difference between surviving and dominating. And special teams? It might seem minor, but it could very well swing the game. You already gave up free yardage and points last week due to sloppy execution. That has to get cleaned up. Tyler Lue needs to be automatic from extra point range. Trenton Simpson, learn from last week. Don't try to play hero ball on special teams. Just do your job. All the ingredients for a blowout are there. The Ravens are better. They're deeper. They're at home. They're angry. But games like this don't win themselves. This team has to walk onto that field like it's January. Like the season is on the line. Because, in many ways, it is. A loss here doesn't just make them 0-2. It plants a seed of doubt that's going to be very hard to shake. And in a division as tough as the AFC North, there's no room for doubt. If the Ravens want to be the team they believe they can be, if they want to silence the critics, dominate their division, and make a real playoff push, it all starts here, right now, with this game. So the question is, will they deliver the knockout punch, or will they pull back when it matters most? Make sure to subscribe for daily Ravens coverage and analysis. Smash that like button if you bleed purple and black, and stay locked in. We've got more content coming your way, and you won't want to miss it. And hey, if you're still watching, check out the video on your screen right now for more Ravens breakdowns. Let's go, Ravens flock!